Hey guys.
What's up, highlighters? He almost messed up already. This is our first video. Goodness.
Well, you see, it takes some getting used to. That's all it is.
Yeah, it did feel a little different.
We should just do it again for them real quick, so
Wow.
I can get in the rhythm of doing it. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
What's up, highlighters? I like that.
Yeah, that was better. See?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're so happy with the feedback we got from you guys on our last video and how you guys are on board with us calling you guys the highlighters of our channel. We're super excited.
Yeah, for this week's sit down, we were thinking of like a good topic for you guys, and the one that was highlighted to us was communication.
One that's very relevant in our lives.
Yeah, it's been something that we've been trying to perfect and work on. And I feel like it's something that takes continuous work to truly be able to communicate effectively. Everybody always talks about, oh, in a relationship, whether it be like marriage or friendship or whatever it is, communication's key. But no one ever like
elaborate.
Yeah, no one ever talks about like how it's hard to do sometimes.
Recently, we've discovered why we communicate the way that we do, and we just kind of wanted to break that down for you guys today and just like explain that and show you that it's normal. If that's something that you guys struggle with, like it's completely, I would think it's completely normal.
No, it definitely is. I feel like a lot more shut down and reserved than Maria. And I think it goes to the way I was raised. I was raised in, not necessarily in an environment that doesn't allow for sharing, but it was never really encouraged. It was more of just, I kind of took things on internally, managed them myself, so that still reflects in the way I communicate today. Like, I'm much more prone to just kind of be quiet about stuff if it's like bothering me, and not really go to Maria or outside sources if it's like something that I'm dealing with or having a hard time with. So, you know, it makes communicating with me interesting.
I always thought that I was like a pretty good communicator where I would like say how I feel, but like I struggle a lot, and I think you can vouch for me with that. Like there's times where like I'm feeling a certain way, but I have the hardest time like just relaying it to him. I don't know if that has something to do with me being a middle child and like always wanting to keep the peace, but like I think maybe a little bit where I've had a hard time validating my own like feelings to make it seem like it's important to even bring up. So a lot of times I do the same thing as he does, where like I suppress things a lot until all of a sudden I can't anymore, and then eventually just has to come out. I think I've realized with my anxiety, a lot of it has to do with that. It was the fact that I've suppressed emotions and I've felt deeply and strongly about certain things, but like not knowing how to relay my thoughts and my inner like turmoil to Damar. And so it's been a challenge.
Even with little things, like when we first started doing it, Maria'd be like, how was your day? And I would say, good. And like that was my answer.
You just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like very like detailed.
Oh yeah.
Like if you would ask me how my day was, I'd be like, oh, it was so good. Like I woke up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, and she'd like, I counted this one flower. This flower had 16 petals on it, and there was a ladybug. It had 14 spots. And
yeah, so I get that from my mom. Like we're just very detailed, and so it just took some getting used to. And I feel like we both have come each other's way a little bit. Like I feel like you don't really love that so much when I'm too detailed, because you're just kind of like, okay, like I have to kind of get on with my life. But then you're also like, you understand where I'm coming from, where it's like, I want to know about your day and I care about like the detail in his life. And so he's better at like elaborating on that now, but it just takes time for you to realize that about each other.
So like, yeah, you know, definitely some challenges, but it does bring a lot of good too. At the end of the day, we want each other to know what's going on.
Well, and we want each other to like feel better. And like,
yeah,
we genuinely want to understand each other. So we always invest that time to like try to understand each other. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. Like just the other night, it took us like 3 hours to fully understand, and like even the next morning, like we hardly were able to understand still. I think that's just part of it. Like you just have to learn to be patient with the other person and like be okay with the fact that like we don't think the same way, but to just remember that we want to understand each other and to like be patient and take the time to do that.
Yeah, but with that, like communication is such a vast topic. So we just want to hit on like a few of the major ones. And of course, like a big one is disagreeing. Like having a constructive like disagreement or argument, whatever you want to call it, going about it the right way. I feel like for everybody, it's really easy to like let your pride get in the way, and like sometimes you just want to dig your heels in and just just fight. Especially me. Like I get in this weird space where it's like sometimes I know I'm in the wrong, and there's a part of me that knows what I should say and what I should do, and I just don't want to do it.
There's TikToks about that. Have you
And it's
seen them?
so weird now.
Where it's like the girl's like rehearsing like what she wants to say to her husband, and then she's like, okay, say this, like, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. And then she goes to her husband, she's like, you know what? I don't know why you do the things that you do. And she goes to do
Yeah,
the
no,
opposite.
that's literally me.
But I do that too.
Yeah, I'm like, I know I should say this right now, but I'm really not going to. So sometimes it's just like my own pride that gets in the way, and it's something that I acknowledge, and it's like something that I need to work on. But it's always like such a big build-up, you know? Like when a disagreement happens, it's good if you could try to catch it in the beginning, but what typically happens with us at least is like something small, and then it kind of eggs, and then like something else, and then it builds to this big monster that it doesn't necessarily need to be.
Yeah.
And then like the communication lines get blurred because one of us gets frustrated and the other one's like saying something, and then it's
Well, we both feel misunderstood already. So it's like we both are just like fighting to get the other person to understand. So we're not even focused on understanding the other person. We're just trying to get our point across. And we do that over and over and over and over, and then we just keep going in circles, and then we get nowhere. And then we wake up the next morning and same thing.
Yeah, and there's no headway. But it's like, it's important to recognize where it's like, okay, we're stuck in this, and we need to be able to either like come back to it and revisit it later, or like, it's hard to really agree to disagree. It's really hard, especially in a marriage. But
and it's like when you go to somebody, you want them to like confide in you and like understand where you're coming from. And I feel like that's more than ever what you want in your spouse. And when you disagree and it's something that you're really passionate about and strong, like feel very strongly about, but in different ways, then it's like that's where the difficulty comes in.
Yeah, the problem comes in. But it's hard because as a whole separate person, you hear a problem, and like for me, I always am like devil's advocate. I'm like, well, yeah, you may feel that way, but you need to look at it through this lens. And that isn't necessarily what she wants to hear sometimes. You take it as like, I'm disregarding what you're saying, and like what you're saying isn't valid. But in actuality, I'm just like, well, you gotta kind of look at it through different lenses, which isn't good. So it like comes down to like, I need to learn when to be a devil's advocate and when to just listen. And as a guy, I think it's very easy for me to just listen to a problem, like, how can I fix it? Let's just fix it. Like,
and I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen to me. Like, I just want you to listen to me.
But it's so hard
understand.
to listen. To just sit there and just like,
yeah.
Like,
and a lot of people probably say like, well, what's the point of telling me something if you don't want me to find a solution for your problem? Like, and it makes sense, but at the same time, like, sometimes I feel like we just kind of need to dump. We just need to like get, like for me, I feel like I just need to talk and like get it out. And the biggest thing right now that we're realizing is like how different things are now that we are so comfortable with each other. Because of the differences in the way that we communicate, like Damar has for so long like not felt like he can share certain things. Growing up, it was always like he just kept things to himself. He handled things on his own. And so now that I'm in the picture and I grew up semi-differently, like,
opposite end. It wasn't semi. You grew up different. Yeah, that's true.
I did grow up pretty different. But we're realizing like the danger in being so comfortable to where you're not even careful with the way that you say things anymore. And that's where
Maria was like, you got a big forehead. She said that in the middle of our argument last time.
Save that for later.
She said she plays movies off my forehead when I'm sleeping. Like, she goes, she goes
I use
in.
the projector.
Yeah, that's what you said.
It's funny. I will admit, like, there are times where because he just shuts down a lot, he'll just say like, okay, and he wants to just be done with it and not talk it through. I'll start to like throw jabs in order to have him just talk to me. And that's not a good idea ever. When you're with somebody for so long, you're no longer careful and you don't tiptoe around like things anymore. You're just like straight, get to the point, like, and you're not kind anymore.
And in the communication, like, it evolves as time goes on. When me and Maria were first get together, like, she would get like sad if something was like bothering her, and then it was a good like, I responded well to it because I was like, oh, I don't want to see you sad. Like, that breaks my heart to see you sad.
Don't care if I'm
well,
sad.
now she's just mean as a snake, and then it makes me mad. Oh, mean as a snake.
Yes, you shouldn't say that.
What? Okay. Well, sometimes
we had to cut that out because he was being mean. Okay, what it is, I think I'll say something mean, and like that's maybe truthful, but it's mean. and then he gets really upset. And all it takes is for me to say one thing, and then he is so shut down, and he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. So then the whole time I'm talking, he's just waiting for me to shut up so that he can just like eat me alive.
There's bits of that are true, but that's left up for interpretation. But yes, at the end of the day, it's truly a learning thing. Like, we still don't have it down. We're far from perfect with it. It's easier to just not do it sometimes. But like, the most growth happens with communication and talking about the things that are bothering you. Being able to listen to someone it's like a gift in itself. Like, to truly just be able to listen and to empathize and like feel what they're saying and try to understand what they're going through, and it's a challenge, especially when in your mind you're like, there's no reason for you to feel this way because of reasons X, Y, and Z. But
because you're not so like clouded by whatever. Like, you're not the one that's.
But to acknowledge and listen, that is so important, and no one ever talks about it. It's so important to find someone that can listen to you, be able to hear your thoughts, and then be like, okay, well, you know, what you're saying completely makes sense, and you know, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes that's like all that needs to be said, even though sometimes I don't want to say those things.
It's the last thing he says.
As you can see, it's still kind of a sensitive subject. But like we said, we're always going to be vulnerable with you guys, and it's something that we're going through this week and that we want to, you know, hear your input on. So if you guys have any words of wisdom or
things that work for you,
we'd love to hear about it. So of course, drop it down in the comments.
If you guys haven't already, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on all of our social media links down below. And if you haven't known already, we do post on Wednesdays and Sundays. We are super close to 10,000 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button so you can join our family.
Until next time, Highlighters, Hightower family,
out.